What's up, YouTube? Welcome back to Celios Network. Today I'm looking at attacking Steelix. So this is an archetype that placed in the top 16 at the recent Harrogate Regionals over in Europe. I've made a few changes from the Harrogate list, which you can find on Limitless TCG, but this here is my list with the few changes. I took out 3 cards, added 3 cards, so it's not too different, but I think the changes I made really helped the deck flow. So the Harrogate list had no healing options, and I'll get into why that's good, but my additions are the 1 Pal Pad and 2 Acerola. So just let's look at the Pokemon line, and I'll explain the strategy a bit as we go. So we have 1 Ditto Prism Star. If you're not already familiar with this, it can evolve into any stage 1. So its ability reads, once during your turn, you may put any stage 1 card from your hand onto this Pokemon to evolve it. You can't use this ability during your first turn or the turn this Pokemon is put into play. So things that can stop this include Alolan Muck, which shuts off all basic abilities, which we don't want to see again, while we're playing this deck. And also Wobbuffet from Lost Thunder prevents all Prism Pokemon from having abilities or attacks. That's not as common as Alolan Muck, but it's still something to watch out for. 1 Oranguru Instruct, draw until you have 3 is why it's here. I've used Psychic a couple times while playing this deck, but you're not really supposed to. It's just something that happened. So yeah, it's here to draw cards until you have 3 with that Instruct ability. Also, this can get shut off by Alolan Muck. So Alolan Muck is, you'll see soon that Alolan Muck is the plague of this deck here. So then we have 4/4 Steelix line. So Onix has a hefty 120 HP for the basic form. We shouldn't be attacking with this too much. Maybe if you attach DCE, your opponent evolves into Zoroark, doesn't kill this, and you have another DCE, maybe you go for Land Crush, but then they just kill your Onix anyway. Steelix is the spotlight of the deck. Stage 1, 190 HP, Metal type. Tackle for 30. With Delmise down, it's 40. Sometimes you'll just be doing chip damage with Tackle, and that's okay because you're a huge Stage 1 Pokemon that's not getting one-shot by many things. And then Tail Crush is the attack you want to be using. Metal Energy and double colorless, or 3 metal if that ever happens. It does 80, flip a coin if heads. This attack does 40 more. So that's 120 if you get heads. And we have Victini, known as Fliptini sometimes. It has the ability Victory Star. Once during your turn after you flip any coins for an attack, you may ignore all results of those coin flips and begin flipping those coins again. So this is another thing that can be shut off by Alolan Muck. So you see how that card could be very annoying for this deck. But basically Victory Star turns this 50-50 chance into, it's a 75% chance that you'll get at least 1 heads. So you'll usually be doing 120 with Tail Crush or 130 if you have a Delmise down. Since I mentioned Delmise a couple times, we'll just skip over to that. While it's on the bench, it's an ability on a basic Pokemon. Look at that. Alolan Muck shuts it off again. Your Metal Pokemon's attacks do 10 more damage to your opponent's active Pokemon. So it just gives a 10 damage buff to Steelix's attacks. We're playing 1 Sudowoodo. Your opponent can't have more than 4 bench Pokemon. If they have 5, discard down to 4. Spoiler alert, Alolan Muck shuts this Pokemon's abilities off. So this is just nice to have to screw with your opponent a little. It really hurts Zoroark decks and Malamar decks because they need big benches. We have a 1/1 Slugma, or 1/1 Magcargo. We are playing the 70 HP Slugma because I think Magma Ring is a good attack. I've never been in a situation where that extra 10 HP from the Lost Thunder Slugma would have made a difference, and I like having Magma Ring as a very fringe option. And then we have Magcargo for Smooth Over. Once during your turn, you may search your deck for a card, shuffle your deck, put it on top. And so you use Magcargo, Smooth Over, and then you use Instruct to draw cards or one of the other options we have in the deck to draw that card that you smoothed over. Lastly, we have 1 Registeel Turbo Arm. For Metal Energy, it does 30. Attach a basic energy from your discard pile to one of your benched Pokemon. This is like on a rebuilding turn where you can't get an attack off with Steelix, so you just go out, swing for 30, 40 with a Delmise, attach a basic energy from the discard to one of your bench Pokemon, and you get some nice chip damage in. So that's it for the Pokemon. Like I said, we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 Pokemon that we are using fairly frequently that Alolan Muck shuts off, so Alolan Muck is definitely going to be a huge Guzma target if we can get it to sit up there for a turn, or if we can Guzma and get lucky with a heads on tail crush, since we won't be using Victory Star in the same turn because Alolan Muck is preventing that from happening. On to the trainers. We'll start out with our draw support. We have 3 Acrobike, so this is good because we're playing Magcargo. If we smooth over and we can't instruct for the card, we can just Acrobike for the card and discard the other. We have 4 Cynthia, shuffle, draw 6, and we have 4 Lily, draw until you have 6, or draw until you have 8 on your first turn. This is another option for getting your smooth over card. So smooth over, then play Lily. For search, we have 3 Nest Ball, which just takes a basic from your deck and puts it straight to the bench, and 4 Ultra Ball, all pretty standard. So Nest Ball can get everything aside from Steelix and Magcargo, and Ultra Ball can get anything. Since Steelix is our main attacker, we do want to have a lot of search for that. Then for our utility supporters, we have the 3 Guzma. And like I said, we are playing Pal Pad, so I'll include that here. So 3 Guzma, effectively a maximum of 5 that you can play if you use Pal Pad for both. And then we also have 2 Acerola, which is my inclusion to the deck aside from the Pal Pad. Acerola to put one of your Pokemon that has any damage counters on it and all cards attached to it into your hand. Effectively, we can play a maximum of 3 or 4 Acerola over the course of a game if we Pal Pad them. So because Steelix is tanky, and also it's tanky because of Metal Frying Pan, which I'll mention now before we get into that, the Metal Pokemon this card is attached to takes 30 less damage from your opponent's attacks and has no weakness. So Steelix, 190 HP with Metal Frying Pan. We're playing 4 of them, so you will get them consistently. You're taking 30 less damage from an attack. So let's say we're playing against Zoroark. Zoroark's Riotous Beating will do 90 without damage modifications. Let's say they have Devoured Field and they play Kukui, so that's 150 minus the 30, so that's 120. That means we're going to get killed next turn by the Riotous Beating. Acerola-ing can prevent that for a turn. It's especially a nice tempo swing if you're in a position where you already have a Metal Energy on a benched Onix or Steelix, and you can Acerola attach to DC and continue tail crushing. Sometimes you have to Acerola and then swing with Tackle, but that's okay because you're not taking 1-shots a lot with this card. Sometimes you even have to 3-shot things. 2 shots are like the ideal situation though. So I really like Acerola. I've been playing with this deck a bit, and the Acerola is just, it's like huge swing turns where your opponent's like, okay, I'm going to knock out this huge Steelix. They only have 1 other energy on the board. Maybe next turn I can knock out their Magcargo and start really dismantling their setup. And then you just Acerola and put them behind however much damage they did to the Steelix initially. And it's just really a setback for your opponent. It's a huge tempo swing for you. For other supporters, we do have 2 Rescue Stretcher and 3 Shrine of Punishment to help with damage output against GX and EX Pokemon. So the 2 Rescue Stretcher makes the thin Magcargo line and the thin counts of everything else, really, aside from Steelix, look a little bit better. So for the Magcargo, we have 1 Slugma, 1 Magcargo. We also have a Ditto that can act as the Slugma for the Magcargo. So really, the card that we're looking not to prize is the Magcargo, which is a roughly 1 in 10 games will prize the Magcargo. But prizing the Slugma and the Ditto is a lot harder. So usually you'll have the Slugma or the Ditto, and 9 out of 10 games on average you'll have the Magcargo in there with one of those. Then things like the Oranguru is important to get back if they knock it out, so we'll use a Rescue Stretcher for that. If they knock out a Steelix line and an Oranguru, we'll just shuffle 3 back in. Yeah, and so that's everything aside from the energy lineup. We have 4 double colorless energy because that is an important energy to use here as it's on both of Steelix's attacks. And then we have 7 metal energy, so we're really trying to get an energy attachment every single turn for this deck onto a Steelix or Onyx. So that is the whole list. Like I said, this mostly comes from the Harrogate Regional top 16 list, but I felt that after playing around 10 or 12 games with the deck, the lack of Acerola and Palpad just felt a little silly to me because this Steelix tanks so well between its HP and its 4 metal frying pans to help it tank even better. Bodybuilding dumbbells, I guess, is another okay option for tanking, but I think metal frying pan is just better in every way because you're taking 30 less every single time instead of you just have 40 maximum HP. So if they're trying to 2-shot you and it's 30 less damage each time, that's a minus 60 HP damage reduction, whereas bodybuilding dumbbells gives you plus 40. So you'll see how metal frying pan gets you the value a little more. Also, it stops your metal Pokemon from having weakness. So that means Blacephalon has to send to the Lost Zone 5 energy to one-shot a Steelix. So 5 energy isn't unheard of for them to have on board to one-shot a Pokemon, but if they have to do it 6 times, 5 times 6 is 30, and they do not have that much energy. So you can definitely run them out of energy if they're always going for a Steelix. Of course, they do have Guzmas, so they can go for support Pokemon, but that just means you're getting the swing every turn, and you'll have a Shrine of Punishment out frequently, so it makes that matchup not terrible due to weakness, since you won't have any when Metal Frying Pan's out. So I hope you guys liked this deck profile, and I answered any questions you might have had about how this deck works, and my changes to it, and yeah, why the list is made the way it is. Be sure to subscribe for more videos like this and check out flipsidegaming.com. Use code CELIO, all caps, for 10% off of your next order, $10 or more. It saves you some money and it helps support this channel. Yeah, hope you guys have a great day, and I'll see you next time here on Celio's Network.